Hi, we're back cooking with Sharon, and today I have one of my favorite appetizers from a local restaurant that I've been trying to duplicate for a while now. You know, I always try and I go out to these restaurants or establishments, and I'm like, you know what? I can do that at home, so why don't I give it a try? So, as you see here, I have some green tomatoes. Now, my parents love fried green tomatoes, and I couldn't understand when I was growing up why they would love them so much. Now, as an adult, I can see why. So, we're going to make fried green tomatoes, but we're going to have a little twist to it. You know I love seafood, so we're going to put crab on top, and it's going to be so good with a corn base underneath. And this is, of course, fresh corn off the stalk. Kind of reminds me of my grandmother who used to make fried corn all the time. So when I was actually taking it off, it was a great reminder of, man, it is a lot of work to actually take a fresh corn stalk and cut. And she used to make fried corn from scratch all the time. So just imagine all the work that she did back in the day that we enjoyed. So let's get started. So I have my fried green tomato, or my green tomatoes. So what I did was I took them and I sliced them. They're about 1/8 of an inch thick. And I put coarse, like sea salt on them. You can't see the salt now because it's actually been sitting for about 30 minutes. And I did this because I want, one, for some flavor to be in the tomatoes, but also I want, this is going to allow the coating to actually stay on the tomatoes. So I've drained the water. Some of it's still there, but we're going to take the tomatoes and we're just going to, I'm going to take a paper towel and pat it dry just to make sure that we're going to have the coating on them. And they're a little bit softer. It's not really green tomato season. And so when I picked them up from the store, they were a little bit hard, but now that they've been sitting in the salt for a while, they're a little softer. So that's going to help as well. Over here, as I'm patting these dry, I have our mixture that we're going to use to coat everything. Right here, I have just regular cornmeal and breadcrumbs, panko breadcrumbs. And I have them all already together. It's about 1/2 cup of each. You really don't need to measure too much of that because we'll probably need to add more anyways. But just to give you an idea of how to start off, you could take 1/2 cup or a cup of each, and then we're going to mix it together in the bowl. And then I also have in the second bowl right here, sriracha. A little bit of spice we're going to add to it. And then if you don't have sriracha, you can use hot sauce. I'm going to take this sriracha and I'm going to add this buttermilk, which is about 3/4 of a cup to a cup. Again, we may need to add some more because we have a lot of tomatoes here. And then this is the liquid equivalent of 1 egg. We're going to add, and we're going to add in the sriracha sauce and whisk it together along with those two liquid ingredients. And then in the third bowl right here, I have flour, garlic, onion powder, and smoked paprika. So you want to make sure that it is smoked. If you don't have smoked paprika, it's okay. I mean, you can get by, but the flavor's not going to be the same. So we're going to take these dry ingredients and mix them all together as well. And then we'll have our coating ready. So this is about, just so you know, the garlic and the onion powder, it's about 1 teaspoon of each, and of the smoked paprika as well. And then we're going to add in just a little bit of salt and pepper in our coating right here, and mix that all together. We're going to mix this together, and then we're going to have our breadcrumbs and cornmeal. We'll just mix that all together. Okay, so before we get started with frying our tomatoes, I'm going to just put together a little bit of our crab topping. Now this is, you don't have to have, this is not necessary, but you all know that I like to do things a little bit different over here. So I'm going to take actually I'm not going to start off with the red onions. I'm going to start off with the red pepper and corn. And this is about 2 stalks of corn that I've put together. And I'm going to take just a little bit of butter. That's about a tablespoon of butter. We're going to mix this together just so it has some flavor as our base. And we'll put in a little bit of, this is blackening flavor. And we'll put in our red onions. And again, this is just extra. This is just a little extra something that we're going to add. We want this as the base of our green tomatoes. Not the base, but yeah, the base. We'll put this underneath. And then we're going to take our crab and we're going to top it. So this would be ideal for, oh my gosh, you could have this at just an appetizer for a holiday get-together at your house. You can actually pass these maybe at an event. I would probably, if we were passing it, I would find little smaller tomatoes and make them little bite size, if at all possible. Or we can cut these in half and make them bite size. So this is getting nicely sauteed together. While that is cooking down, I just want you to take, like, this is about, I don't know, I just took a little bit of crab that I had left over from making a chowder earlier. And we're just going to add a little bit of garlic to this. Garlic and blackening, or like a Creole. If you don't have a blackening season, a Creole. And we're just going to mix this together. You could top your tomatoes with just plain crab. Well, we don't want that. We want some flavor. So you see how we started off? This was just a simple little bit of seasoning that we added that'll make the finished product that much better. Okay, so this right here is cooking nicely. And the reason why we're cooking this down is obviously we want, fresh corn, but we don't want raw corn. And we want our vegetables, the peppers and the red onions to be able to be eaten. And so that's why we're cooking it down. We're going to add just a little bit more, just a tad bit more butter. And finish that off. And again, this is just something very simple. I like to eat it as an appetizer. I mean, you can almost have it as a meal, possibly, because of the protein with the crab. And then also you have your vegetable with the tomatoes and also the vegetable right here. So you almost have a complete, not carb-free meal, but, the corn is not helping it. But you have something that is filling. So again, this is something that I always order out when I am hanging out with my friends. This is one of our staple appetizers that we usually get. So it's always something that we can always duplicate at home. I'm just going to add a little bit more pepper. And this is salt. Okay, so this is ready to go. We'll put this off to the side, and then we're going to start on our tomatoes. So you want to make sure that your oil is hot. I just used a regular like canola oil, but you can use a soybean oil, or any type of oil that you have. I probably wouldn't use olive oil just because it doesn't cook as well when you're frying. But if that's all you have, that's all you have. So let's get started with breading our tomatoes. I'm just going to grab some gloves here, and we're just going to start off with our mixture, our flour mixture. Then we're going to use our wet mixture, and then coat it with the panko and the breadcrumbs. Or the panko, and the cornmeal. All right, so, and you just want to shake off the flour. You just want a little bit on there to coat it, and that way the liquid mixture will stick. Just like that. And then you have your coating. Simple. So I'm going to do that with all of them. And then we're going to, by the time we're done coating, our oil should be hot enough to fry. You definitely don't want lukewarm oil. Won't make for a good fry. So the coating, as you see, is sticking nicely. Remember that trick, though, in the beginning where you're putting salt in there? You're letting your tomatoes sit in the sea salt. And you see that the flour is staying on. Sometimes I have issues with it actually staying on. So, let's see. Okay. I'm sure these will get eaten if I cook them. By someone. I don't know who. But I'm sure they will get eaten. If not, I'm sure one of you guys could come over here and enjoy. Oh, gosh. I know Lindsay probably gets sick of me sometimes. But, hey, that's what I do over here. Have a good time while I'm cooking. Okay. So I think our oil is hot enough. We can start frying what we have. All right. Let's do 2 more. And you see it didn't take that long to actually put everything together once we had our items organized. Okay. And like I said, I don't know if you remember, I said we probably would need to add in more cornmeal and panko. I knew that because I had a lot more tomatoes. We're going to make this work. Okay. So let's see if our oil is hot enough. I think so. I hope so. Oh, yeah. It could be. Yes, it's hot, but it's not as hot as it could be. It's all good. We'll put this to the side, and I'll finish these later. And you can tell it would be hot enough if your tomatoes started floating to the top. And it's not quite doing that yet. But no worries. We'll let it get a little bit warmer, and we'll put the other ones in. And while we're waiting on that, I can show you basically what we're going to do with our corn mix right here. And do you all remember how we made that remoulade sauce? This is going to go perfect with the fried green tomatoes. I mean, it actually goes great with all types of seafood, but it's going to be so good with these tomatoes. All right. So, yeah, it wasn't that hot, but it's all good. You can take just a regular plate like this, a little plate, or you can take a bigger plate depending on what you have at home. And we're going to take our mixture right here and just coat the bottom of the little plate. And this is where our tomatoes are going to be placed once we are done. Okay. All right, so it looks like our oil is getting nice and hot. So we'll drop some more tomatoes in. And we want a brown, like golden color is what we're going for. So, and then also here, right, that I have right here that I used earlier, I don't know if you saw, but it's basically a cookie sheet and a cookie rack or a wire rack. So you want to have that available so your tomato with a paper towel underneath, so your tomatoes can go right there. And be ready to plate up. So this whole process should be about, I mean, if your oil was hot enough, it would probably take about maybe 10 minutes to get everything together. And they are frying up nicely. Now, unfortunately, we haven't talked about, this cannot obviously be gluten-free, but if you wanted a gluten-free option, we would just use a different type of bread or panko breadcrumbs. They have that available in your local grocery store aisle. Gluten-free flour and breadcrumbs. So we can make this gluten-free. This is obviously going to be vegan because until we put the crab on it. But it could be a vegan option for those who are trying to have a variety of different appetizers for upcoming parties or, like I said, just to eat. I mean, my parents used to eat these for breakfast. And again, back then I didn't understand why, because, I mean, who eats green tomatoes? But they're really good, especially when they are seasoned, and they're going to be the bomb when we put this crab on it too. So if you don't have crab, no worries. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to use that. But if you have shrimp, you can also you can do like little baby shrimp, and it can work the same way. But once we plate it, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's so good. All right. I want to make these just a little browner. You see, it's not as golden as I like it quite yet, but we're getting there. And, see, this is the part that I wish I had some interaction. Someone to talk to me and ask me questions. But I just have to talk to myself. And I'm trying to think of some other options that you could do with this as well. This could be a good option for brunch. If you wanted to serve something different for brunch, you know, traditionally you have, you know, your eggs, omelets, waffles, all that jazz. But this is something that could definitely be served for brunch. And I think your guests would love it. Or actually, you would love it. Okay, so it is almost done. At least this batch is almost done. Oh, I know why it's not really. I think I may be almost out of propane. Good thing we're almost to the end. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. It just did go out. But it's okay because I'm always prepared. Most of the time. Most of the time. That's why our flame wasn't as high. Of course, you don't have this problem at home because you're working from a stove. But, we're back in action. All right. So now, it's always something. It's always something. But we just pivot. That's what we do around here, is we pivot and we adjust. Okay, so look, this is nice and golden. We're just going to take it out and lay it on our rack. These could use a little bit more time. We'll put these in as well. And this one's done. These are, it's personal preference if you want it just a little bit more golden. But this is a nice color right now. And I mean, essentially the tomatoes already, you know, you're cooking it just a little. I mean, you and I both know that you can have raw tomatoes, eat raw tomatoes, and you'll be fine. But these are a nice color, and they're cooking up nicely. So you know really if they're done, if they float to the top. You can see in the pot here that the ones that are on the bottom that are still near the bottom need to cook a little bit longer. And you see the one floating to the top is pretty much done. So we'll let those cook while we plate up. So So like I said, we had our little base of the corn and peppers, and then we'll just take our tomatoes. And for those of you who have seen this at a restaurant, I think it looks pretty much like the same, almost the same, but we have our own twist because we did it ourselves. Okay. And then we have our special remoulade sauce right here. So we will top this with the crab. Looks so good. And then we will add the remoulade on top. Now I need a squeeze bottle, but for today we're just going to serve it on the side. And bam! So there you have it. I mean, once again, we have showed you something that is quick, easy, and what? Delicious. And something that you can easily do at home. And of course, if you don't want to do it, you know who to call. Of course, us, RX Catering. And as always, I appreciate you joining me at Cooking with Sharon. So we'll see you the next time.